Hey everyone, welcome back to Wild Wednesdays. I'm Leah and I'll be your guide to the wild side. On today's episode, I feature Wilderness Survival School instructor and owner, Kyle Thomson. Hey Kyle, how's it going?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Give me just like a quick rundown about what you do and yeah.
Yeah, so I'm a full-time wilderness skills instructor. I own and operate Wilderness Wild Survival School. I focus mainly on wilderness thrival. So I try to tell
Okay,
students that we're not surviving, we're thriving out here. So a lot of primitive skills and ancestral skills.
that's really cool. Right on.
Yeah.
What kind of like led you into that area of work?
Have you ever read My Side of the Mountain?
I think so, yeah. A long time
Okay.
ago.
Yeah, that was like the book that kind of pushed me, and then the Hatchet series. I don't know if you've ever read those either.
Yeah.
But those were like the two books that kind of pushed me in the direction. And then I had parents growing up that were really into camping and really impactful with getting into these primitive skills. My mom bought me a lot of wild edible plant books and things like that growing up. And I actually spent, I think I was 8. I lived in a teepee in my parents' backyard growing up for almost a year. Yeah.
Pretty cool.
So almost a year, yeah. And one of the biggest things was I remember we went on a road trip out to it was the Jacob Hamlin home down in St. George area. And the
Okay.
one thing I remember was seeing a bed with a woven rope frame in there. And I saw that and I'm like, oh, when I get back home, my teepee's getting an upgrade. And so I'm back and I did that. And so, yeah,
That's
I've
pretty
just been pushed kind of
Did
in
you
this direction all over my life. Yeah.
right on? That's very cool. I feel like there's not a lot of people who are really passionate and dedicated, so that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's a good thing. Yeah.
So on your teepee, did you like dry the skin out and everything yourself and wrap it, or is it like something else, like
Well,
canvas?
it was like a 8-year-old style teepee, so I was 8. I just had finished reading My Side of the Mountain. And I told my mom, I'm going to live out in the backyard. I don't want to live in the house anymore. And so I gathered some wood poles and I made this teepee frame and I had a fire pit and everything in there. I made my first acorn pancakes out of acorn flour at 8 years old, living in there. And it just kind of really forced me into all these primitive skills living out in this backyard teepee growing up. And,
Yeah,
my shelter skills have evolved since then, but yeah, it was pretty fun. So I remember catching fish at the local pond, bringing them back, starting a fire inside that teepee, and cooking them over
yeah,
coals. So,
right on. That's
yeah.
like really cool. Um, so I guess you kind of answered the question a little bit. As far as kind of what you got you started. Did you have like along with that any spiritual or like profound experiences where you were like, this is what I want to do forever?
Yeah. Actually, so when I was younger, I was misdiagnosed with bipolar. And so I was given medications from 6 all the way to about 18, 17, 18. And they kind of messed with me growing up. And I was very secluded. I didn't like to be around people growing up a lot. And so I turned to a lot of the nature trails, the hiking areas, the wilderness growing up. And so I had this just deep connection. I felt more at home in the wild growing up than I did actually at home or anywhere with people. And
Yeah.
and so that kind of forced me in, and it pushed me into this direction. And I got really involved in learning these primitive skills and being outside, being comfortable in nature growing up. And
Mhm.
then there was kind of the second profound experience is that when I moved out to Utah from Texas, I got a job as a wilderness therapy field staff. So I was working wilderness therapy. I was living in the backcountry, and I remember taking a break. The rest of the staff was at main camp, and I left main camp and I went off and just made a fire. I was about a mile away from main camp. Made my fire. I was cooking my food. As I had walked off, I had gotten a squirrel, and so I was just cooking a squirrel over a fire, way out in the middle of nowhere, Utah, and far enough to where I couldn't hear the camp. And I just sat there and I was like, "This is what I want to do. I don't want to necessarily do wilderness therapy, but I want to teach and I want to guide and I want to show people how you can walk out into the wilderness and procure the things that you need in order to actually live comfortably." And so those were
Yeah.
kind of the two main experiences for me.
Right on. I feel like a lot of
Yeah,
people are pretty disconnected from that, so that's like some ultimate healing, connecting with nature.
absolutely.
Yeah, that's
Absolutely.
pretty.
Seeing a lot of
What area do you teach in, or like what areas do you? Is it kind of all over?
all over Utah. Yeah. So initially, I grew up in Texas, teaching in Texas, but now I teach all over Utah. All of my classes and courses are held throughout the state. So I do mountain, I do desert, everything from Ogden all the way down to Kanab.
Okay, cool. And then do you do that all year round?
All year round, yeah. I do it full time. It slows down in the winter. Not as many people want to go out and get in the snow and the cold in the winter time. Uh, I don't know why. It's quite fun, but but I
Yeah,
enjoy it. So, but yeah. So
right on.
mostly it's all for spring to fall, and then winter it kind of dips down. But yeah, I do it
Okay,
full time.
cool.
Yeah,
An age group, or does just pretty much anyone? Anyone's
pretty much
welcome.
anyone. I have kind of two separations. I have an adult courses, my pathway program, where adults come in and they take these field courses that start with basics and go from there. And then I
Okay.
have what's that?
Oh, I was following you.
Oh, cool. And then I have a youth one, so I do the same kind of program but with youth, and it differs from a lot of other survival training schools because we're actually hiking and we're going out and we're learning these skills with kids and families, getting out and practicing and using those skills. And they go through the same kind of process. They even build like bows and stuff in that program. So, but yeah, I do both. Start at around 6 years old and then go up. But
Okay, really cool, man. Um, what's like one of the you said it was like intro basics, basically the intro to wilderness survival skills. Is that
yeah,
like the
yeah.
typical class that people sign up for?
It's usually what people will start with unless they have like a foundational skill. The survival basics course in both the youth and adult ones, they start with a foundational skill set. So you build kind of this base kit. You start with an essentials kit, and we build some fire kits and we build pack frames, and it's all based out of a blanket pack kit, a very minimal traditional style kit. And so they'll
Okay,
create that, and the rest of the courses are all based off of that essentials kit. So you kind of get
yeah.
those base foundation skills and then move into more advanced bushcraft and primitive living skills.
Oh, okay, right on. That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Like pretty nervous when they start, or do you see like a significant growth or change, like in their confidence levels?
absolutely. I definitely see it doesn't matter where you start in that course, your confidence level grows no matter what. Um,
Mhm.
but I definitely have had people who are like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I've never used a knife in the woods before, and here they are with a fixed blade, and they're like, how do I cut this stick? And so it starts with like really entry level skills, and you have to kind of teach the different skill levels in those courses. But yeah, you get people who are nervous that a bear's going to walk in their shelter in the middle of the night and eat them, and you're like, hey, you're okay. It's not going to get you. So most of the time we're making too much noise and the bears are gone.
Absolutely. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
I was actually gonna ask you that next. Have you guys, has anyone run into like any crazy animal encounters?
No, not on a course. I have personally, but I haven't had. Usually, you get too many people chopping or making noise, and everything's it's gone. So then you go out and do like your primitive hunting, and everyone's like, "I haven't seen anything all day," and I'm like, "Gosh." So the worst thing that we've had is chipmunks getting into people's food bags. We'll go
Was
out for the day to harvest materials, and we come back, and then you'll see just food everywhere, all over the campsite, or they'll take some of your food and they'll stuff it down. I don't know if you're familiar with pot guts. They'll grab. We did a foraged-in survival course last year, and one of the students had his salt and pepper shakers. They had the pot guts had grabbed it and pulled it right down the hole. And we were walking by and like, hey, there's a salt shaker down but most of it's rodents and things like that.
okay, that makes a lot of sense. You make a lot of noise. So. All right. Do you have any like goals to hit? Like any more classes to add on, or like I saw that you were doing that YouTube series, which I thought was pretty cool. But
Yeah, yeah, lots of goals, lots of growth that I want to continue growing. First and foremost, trying to focus on getting that YouTube series into the wild going to really showcase those skills and really give people more insight into really what I'm teaching and what we're doing. And then I've started a couple books that I want to finish hopefully by the end of this year. One's a youth book, and then one's a actual survival guide book. And then I'd like to buy land and open up an actual physical location that we can hold classes on, have people come out to, families can come out and camp and learn skills in kind of a day class environment, and then run field courses off the property.
Yeah, that sounds pretty cool. All right.
Yeah.
Your family like really involved with what you do too? Are you guys all outdoors type?
The family involvement stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's all outdoors. None of it's inside in a classroom. It's all hands-on hiking. We have a hiking-based class where we go out for the day, pack a lunch, and we hike and learn plants and build primitive skills. And then the day classes can be held anywhere from a local park to up in the national forest. But it's all
Okay.
outside, active hiking and engagement. Yeah.
Cool. Do you teach like any wilderness first aid?
So we don't do modern first aid, I guess. We do a lot of medicinal plants and wild herbs, making salves, tinctures, wild medicines, and things like that. Everything that
Okay.
I focus on is always using the natural environment to whether it's healing or getting food, anything like that.
Yeah. Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Could you explain, maybe, do you know like the benefits or the psychological benefits of being outside and tapping into these skills?
Yeah, the psychological benefits of being able to, for example, just walk out into nature. And I think a lot of people go on, let's say, a hike, and they're like, "Oh, that's beautiful. There's a lot of beautiful landscapes here." And when I go out personally and I look at the landscape, I see resources, and I think it's a huge confidence booster. It's a huge psychological confidence boost for somebody
Mhm.
to walk in, see medicine, see foods, resources when they go out. And since that's what I focus on is being able to use everything that's around us to thrive instead of just survive. I feel that's more of a psychological boost than anything you can possibly learn just to get by on the bare minimum to survive.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Do you have any advice looking, or for anyone looking to maybe tap more into their wild side a little bit?
Yeah. Whether anybody's looking to become an instructor or just wanting to be more self-sufficient, I
Mhm.
highly recommend not only just reading and watching videos and learning those skills, but getting experience with them, hands-on experience, getting out and learning in different various conditions, environments. Because no matter where you are, it's never going to be a classroom textbook situation, whatever you're doing, whether it's making
Mhm.
fire or trying to get food. It's always something. It starts to rain, it starts to snow, blizzards will sweep in, and so getting hands-on experience and hands-on training in environments out in the field, out in the mountains, deserts, is just crucial for anybody looking to get into
Mhm.
this.
Absolutely. I actually just thought of a question, and I'm sorry if I put you on the spot with this question. Do you ever run into like maybe frustrations with people who are not necessarily treating the land with respect, or if you come across like trash? Um, I guess how do you handle that?
Yeah, yeah. I've definitely had students who I would say maybe come from a completely different walk of life, different lifestyle completely. They'll eat their lunch and then trash is just starting to blow everywhere. It's not put away. Uh, it can be frustrating because as an instructor, you want to make sure you're taking care of the land. You don't want to just be leaving it worse than when you just got there. I always try to teach, leave no trace and cleaning up and demolishing shelters, things like that when we're done.
Mhm.
And so you can get frustrated. I think you can get sometimes even a little overwhelming, especially in some of the youth or teen courses and classes where it's just like chaotic sometimes. And so handling that is just always kind of me sitting off to the side, taking a little bit of time, enjoying the breeze, enjoying whatever, and then kind of walking back over and engaging with the students, engaging with whoever, maybe left the trash blowing around or things like that and saying, hey, let's clean this up. Let's remember, leave no trace. Let's pick up the land. And teenagers, sometimes when you're on those courses, it's like, it's okay, or somebody else will do it, and you're like, yeah, we're gonna do it, we're gonna get it cleaned up. And so you kind of have to just step into that role and really
Yeah.
be the example too. But even
Yeah.
just picking up trash that we find, I have a lot of students that have actually will be hiking middle of nowhere. Recently was down in Gunlock, and just trash was right in the stream bed. It probably flowed down in the flood, and I had students that just picked it right up. Didn't even ask, didn't say anything. They just picked it up, put it into their blanket pack, and packed it out with them. So you get kind of both sides. You get people who really do understand, and then some people you just end up educating and training.
Yeah, that makes sense. I also just thought of another question. Is in your like leadership role, because it seems that you do have multiple roles, but as you're stepping into that leadership role, do you ever think about like a message that you want to portray to like the outside world of like how to take care of yourself and Earth, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I think with that message, it's kind of a blend of, if you're taking care of yourself and you're doing primitive skills like we're doing here, those are not only just something that's preparing you for an emergency, it's something that deepens your connection to all ancestors. It doesn't matter where you came from. It's one example is stinging nettle fibers. It doesn't matter where you come from, where your ancestry comes from. Most likely, at some point in history, when you're making nettle cordage, your ancestors either ate, used nettle, or made clothing from it. They did something with that plant. And so that's kind of this connection to the past. And when you're learning primitive skills and you're connecting to the past, I feel that you're also kind of preparing for the future, not just in emergencies, but you're also passing those skills on. And so that kind of takes care of, is a way of taking care of both you and helping to preserve the land, nature, and these wild places just through those skills.
Just kind of healing generational timelines a little bit.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's way cool, man. I really liked that answer. Do you, okay, where can people find your website or information? I know you have Facebook, you do have YouTube. Do you want to tell people how they can access just a little like what you do and sign up for classes?
Yeah. So I've got wildernesswildsurvivalschool.com is where I post all the classes are listed there, dates, times, all that stuff. There's also articles like how-to bow drill articles. So if you're struggling with a bow drill, fire, things like that, you can read through those really detailed articles on there. And then I'm on Facebook, I'm on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. So any of those, I'm not on TikTok as much. Most of the stuff is through Facebook or Instagram.
Okay.
And it's all under Wilderness Wild. It's this picture back here with a hand. So
perfect, cool. Well, I think that's basically wraps it up here. But thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me. I really appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great to meet you.
It was really nice to meet you. Kind of a little informally. Hopefully, we can meet in person.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Take it easy today, okay?
Yeah, you too. Likewise.
Thanks.
Bye.